Mavuika is very real indeed, but a pressing question regarding her release is asking whether she will end up power creeping any of the meta Pyros. So today, I thought it'd be fun to speculate everything that Mavuika needs in order to surpass the most important Pyros in Genshin. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Quick disclaimer before we begin. Everything that I say in this video is speculative and not fact. I am merely theorizing and nothing has been confirmed. Alright, with that out of the way, let's go. To power creep Xiangling, all that Mavuika has to do is do what she does but better. People have been begging for a Xiangling replacement for ages now, so I'd be surprised if the Pyro Archon wasn't able to fulfill even a little bit of her capabilities. I don't see why the legendary Goddess of Flames wouldn't be able to outdamage the Liyue chef, so that front should be covered. What we're really after is off-field Pyro application. That's gonna be especially relevant for characters like Mualani and Kinich. AoE would be nice too. To surpass her is honestly a very easy task, yet for some reason, no character in over 4 years has dared to challenge her throne, so I do hope that Mavuika will be the first to step up to the challenge. The Pyro app is the main thing we need. If we don't get that, I'll admittedly be a little disappointed, but as long as it's enough to replace Xiangling in teams that are using her for application, I'm happy. I'm super interested in knowing whether she's gonna become a mainstay in national team cores. I'd be thrilled to see her be an upgrade to Child International, but to be honest, I kinda doubt that since the C4 Xiangling fits his skill timing so well. It literally works perfectly with his rotation, but perhaps if Mavuika is a big enough damage upgrade, the clunk will be worth it. I'd love to see that happen because I love Tartaglia, but honestly, this is a huge pile of copium on my part. There's also the National Core in general, which I do think will be receiving an upgrade with her if she's not totally not unlocked. I'm not sure if she'll be putting them on the map again, but maybe, we'll have to wait and see. Nothing's guaranteed yet. At the end of the day, I somehow doubt that she'll have Xiangling's level of flexibility, but I do think she'll be killing her off in Kinich teams. I'd love to see him do a Kinich damage thanks to Mavuika's presence. I think the Liyue chef will survive simply by virtue of her being so versatile. I'm 99% sure that the Pyro Archon is gonna want Night Soul around, so that immediately rules out her being complete Xiangling power creep. However, I do expect her to compete against her to some extent. Then there's the other side to consider. Archons tend to embody the spirit of their element, yes? Pyro has always been the damaging element, just take a look at how many freaking DPSs are within its roster, so I would not be surprised if she was somewhat Raiden-like and had the ability to work on-field as a damage dealer. Nothing is backing that up other than my assumptions based on the fact that Pyro tends to be viewed as an offensive element mechanically. Plus, come on, she's literally the God of War. She'll be dealing damage one way or another. With that being said, if there was a way to play her as a main DPS, that'd spell doom for other members of the Pyro damage dealer roster, because how can you compete with the literal Archon of your element? So she could potentially kill off Arlecchino depending on how large the gap is. If Mavuika does end up being a DPS to any degree, let's be real, she will be power creeping further. There's no way that the Archon DPS won't become one of the best DPSs in the game. Okay, cool, but what exactly would the God of Flames require in order to kick Father to the curb? Well, let's think about what Arla does well. Damage, and a lot of it, has insane effective versatility, really free-to-play friendly and super duper easy to play. I genuinely do not see why Mavuika could not do all of those things. Damage is covered, she's the God of War. As long as her DPS isn't underwhelming at C0, we should be fine. Versatility as a DPS should be okay, even if she has Night Soul based mechanics. I bet that Xiangling will sort that out just fine. The DJ is equally as flexible as Kazuha for starters, so whatever team you play Mavuika in will be covered when it comes to quick Night Soul generation. After all, support Lonen does 2 quick kicks, generates a good bit of Night Soul, then she's good to go. I'm a little concerned about what that means for non-Shilonen havers. I'm gonna assume that Kachina will save a day then, since she's also an off-field unit who can proc 4-piece Cinder City. This is under the assumption that you're playing some kind of Mavuika hyper-vape team, but the main point I'm trying to make here is that even if you use non-Notlon supports to form the main body of a team, for example using both Farina and Bennett, then you can use somebody like Xiangling to have another source of Night Soul generation in the team. I'm not sure if Night Soul bursts will mean anything for her, we'll have to wait and see. But in any case, I think a DPS Mavuika will be fine on the versatility front of Xiangling and perhaps Kachina, along with perhaps other future Notlon originating supports. Nothing can be said for certain as of now either way. I don't think the versatility thing will be that big of a deal anyway, since if she does significantly better than Arlecchino, even if she only has 1 or 2 effective teams, I think most people will be willing to play that one mega strong team. When it comes to free-to-play friendliness, every single Archon has a free-to-play weapon option that they've been able to use to varying degrees of effectiveness, but generally speaking, there is always something. Shoot, dude, Nahida can use freaking Magic Guide effectively if you have nothing better to use on her. Arla is able to use White Tassel well. But unless they lock Mavuika's main free-to-play option behind a temporary event, I don't see why Mavuika won't end up with something equally as accessible to every player. Hoyo isn't dumb, they wouldn't release an Archon that has their usability locked behind a 5-star weapon, so she'll probably be fine to use on that front. We also don't have any Archons that need their constellations to function. Sure, they tend to be massive upgrades to their base kit, but they have never been needed. So based on previous patterns, I do not see why she wouldn't be equally as free-to-play accessible as Arlecchino. The only thing I can imagine being a problem is Anito and Xiangling, however, Kachina exists as well. Then for ease of use. Dude, come on. Name me one Archon that has an incredibly complicated main playstyle. Enough said. So I don't think that Mavuika will have any problems outperforming Arlecchino. I'm not sure how I feel about a character as strong as her being power crept so soon, but to be honest, Arla's lifespan would still be much longer than the average Honkai Star Rail unit, so at least there's that. I've never really been a fan of the idea of a DPS Archon, since it makes waiting for new DPSs really boring. Why bother waiting for new ones when there is literally an Archon damage dealer? We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. I think we have way too many Pyro DPSs as it is, but I do think that all Mavuika really needs is to just do more damage than Arla, then you're good to go. That's it, sadly. Now with Lyney, thankfully we can play a slightly different tune. By using Xiangling instead of Kazuha at the end of his comp, we could have a potentially large upgrade to his mono Pyro teams. How large, you may be asking? I'm not sure yet, we don't even have the kit officially confirmed, but because she's an Archon, there's always a chance that she'll be so damn strong that she'll make his mono Pyro teams competitive with Vape. That's a super freaking tall ask, because his Vape teams are unbelievably strong when played well, but it could work. The real issue is, will it be worth playing Lyney Mavuika mono Pyro when you could just play Vape Hyper Sun Goddess? Probably not. I have a hard time believing that he could outdamage that. Yes, me, one of the ultimate Lyney glazers, thinks that DPS Mavuika could potentially outdo him. Obviously this idea has no substance to it because we don't have any official kit to back this up. But even so, I just have a hard time believing that the DPS Archon is going to be worse than Lyney. What I honestly find funnier is that if the Mavuika Xiangling teams end up being better than Lyney Vape, we could unironically be living in a timeline where the Magician's King is better than Arlecchino, or even scarier yet, if Mavuika isn't completely tied to Night Soul based mechanics, then Lyney, Farina, Bennett, Mavuika could end up becoming his new best in slot team. Lyney has a lot of potential, so there is a chance he could survive her release, potentially dethroning Arlecchino, but even so, I doubt that he'd be worth playing over Mavuika in her own team. So what's more likely to happen is the Pyro Archon becoming the best Pyro DPS and the Magician becoming the second best if his new team options end up surpassing Arla's old team options. I honestly don't know why they would do this. Sure, it's great for a Lyney glazer such as myself, but I love Arlecchino too. I don't see why Hoyo would want to power creep one of their most beloved characters so soon, but on the bright side, I doubt this means that Lyney and Arla are going to become irrelevant. Chances are you're pulling Mavuika to improve your other not-1 DPSs, leaving room for those other two to take the stage. Remember, Arla coming out didn't kill Lyney, so why would Mavuika kill those two? Copium aside, the Pyro Archon is obviously eliminating those two, but I do still think there will be serious circumstances in which you'll be using those two, aside from Imaginarium Theater Cope. And finally, Bennett. Well, Chevreuse is a meta Pyro as well, but we're not discussing her because Mavuika's not replacing her. More likely is that she's gonna work with her. So now that that's out of the way, allow me to say that I'm 99% sure that Mavuika isn't gonna be like Bennett whatsoever. Hoyo much prefers to create buffing alternatives. For example, Farazan for Animo or Yunjin for normal attackers. I believe that these two will work together instead. I know, that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but first off, I'm speculating, so for all I know I could be yapping like a fool. She could turn out to be a Bennett replacement, but I'm doubting that based on what Hoyo versus preferences are. To beat him, she'd simply have to be an attack buffer without circle impact that'd benefit characters like Kenichi who move around a lot. But because we lack competition against characters like Xiangling, I think sorting out the lack of competition in that niche would be a higher priority when it comes to Hoyo's hit list. Mavuika is a wildly exciting release. I don't think she's gonna power creep every single Pyro per se, but I do think that she's gonna add some competition to the niche. To be honest, it's bound to happen due to how oversaturated the Pyro character roster is. Either way, I look forward to seeing what Hoyo is gonna cook up, but I am a little afraid when it comes to power creeping the likes of Arlecchino and Lyney. But we'll have to wait and see. Nothing is confirmed yet. I do hope that everybody gets the kit that they're looking for out of her. At the end of the day, she's an Archon. There is no way in freaking all of Celestia that she's gonna be mid. Hoyo wouldn't throw away money like that. Definitely give her a chance whenever her kit gets revealed, because I have a strong feeling that she will be meta-defining for at least the current Not-Long characters, but as I said, we're just gonna have to wait and see. That's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts and speculations down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hopefully this video was able to give you some fun ideas as to how Mavuika could potentially power creep the top members of the Pyro roster. This has been Juice, signing out, and here's hoping that our glorious Pyro Archon will be the one to free us from the clutches of Xiangling Impact.